Over these last few weeks, we've been talking about the 8 awakenings of great beings, and tonight we reach number 8. I'll just dive in. Dogen writes, the 8th awakening is not to be engaged in hollow discussions. It is to experience realization and be free from discriminatory thinking with thorough understanding of the true mark of all things. It is called not to be engaged in hollow discussions. He's already said the important thing here, but next I'll read the last. He says, the Buddha said, if you get into hollow discussions, your mind will be scattered. Then you will be unable to attain liberation, even if you have left the household, meaning even if you've become a monk. So you should immediately leave behind scattered mind and hollow discussions. If you wish to attain the joy of serenity, you need to cure the sickness of hollow discussions. This is called not to be engaged in hollow discussions. The sickness. But this is the key. Dogen says, it is to be free from discriminatory thinking with thorough understanding of the true mark of all things. So right away, we need to understand that not to engage in hollow discussions isn't just an act of pushing away. It isn't just an act of rejection. It isn't saying, I don't want to be part of that. It's a way of viewing the world. And he's saying that view of the world involves understanding the true mark of all things. What is the true mark of all things? There are 2 basic ways to understand this. One is to say the true mark of all things is that they're characterized by the 3 seals of dukkha or dissatisfaction, impermanence, and non-self. That's the true mark. Or another way to do it, because Dogen might say this, is sometimes Dogen will say that just impermanence is the key. That the key to understanding, the key to awakening is to see with the eyes of impermanence, to really recognize impermanence moment to moment. Either way, it's not that different. We've been talking about these awakenings as the awakenings of adults. Adults can engage in hollow discussions. Right? Even very mature adults can engage in hollow discussions. That to me is less the point than how they understand those discussions. I'll give an example. This is a very simple example. When I was 15, I had my first serious girlfriend. Serious for me. It was a big, big deal. And I remember, even now I can remember that mindset. I was so excited. I was so excited about this person. I could barely breathe when I was around her. I liked her so much. And she liked me. And it made me feel just intoxicated all the time. She meant so much to me. The relationship meant so much to me. She was possibility. So everything that she did meant something for me about possibility. Every time she held my hand, every time she looked at me, it meant something was out there. Something was possible. Something that mattered was happening right now. That was my experience of it. She meant everything. My parents, they were older. to them, she didn't mean everything. She just meant a little bit of danger. They didn't like that I liked her that much. They didn't like that I was so excited about this. They thought I might make some bad choices. So for them, it wasn't that she meant possibility, it was that she meant some sort of dangerous unknown. And when they looked at her, they interpreted her actions through that lens. When they listened to me talk about her, they interpreted what I said through that lens. Everything meant something, and it meant risk. A little bit. And then I remember my grandparents visiting, and the girl came over, and they met her, and she met them. And it was so easy. She didn't mean everything to them. She wasn't possibility for them. She wasn't danger for them. She was just a nice girl. And for them, I was a nice boy. And so at most, she meant to them that I was a kid. And they were fine with that because they already knew. And all of that is a long way to illustrate that when we see things as they are, when we see things through a long view, we see things less for what they mean and more for what's really there. The story matters less. When we can see through the eyes of impermanence, when we know that every person in front of us, every event in front of us used to not be there and one day will not be there again. It doesn't make those things not matter. But it takes away our idea about what they mean right now. It takes away the drama. When I read the news, everything is drama. And it's drama because the story is, this means this. Oh my gosh. This thing that happened yesterday, this thing that was said yesterday, it means something. And we're confident that we know what it means right now. So we should be caught up in this right now. We should be invested in the story of how this plays out to demonstrate that it really does mean the thing that we think it means. And that's not just the news, it's gossip. It's when we speculate about our boss and we say, you know, he always does that thing, right? And then we're looking for it. And when he does it again, you and your coworker, you know, you make eye contact for just a second and smile because there it is. We know what that means. When you're looking at your life from the direction of going forward, you strategize. You're trying to put the right pieces in front of you. You're trying to arrange things just so that everything has the right meaning, so that things fall into place the way that they need to. Right? You're arranging the dominoes just exactly right. But when you're looking back on your life, when you're looking from that place ahead, you don't think that way. You see the strategizing, you see the plans, you see all the meaning that you attributed to this and to that person, and to that story. And you recognize how over and over and over again you were wrong. So I'm almost 50 and I look back on that time when I was 15. I think about that girl. I think about that feeling that I had holding her hand the first time. And I still have that. But now it's stripped of meaning. It no longer means everything. It no longer means possibility. It's just this moment that was so raw. I still have that. To see through the eyes of dukkha is the same. To really see the suffering in others cuts through the story about what we think they're really trying to do or what they really mean, because we know what they're trying to do and we know what they mean. On a base level, we know what they're experiencing and it's the same as what we're experiencing. And when we look through the lens of non-self, it's the same. All these things that seem real, that seem unbreakable, that seem so important if they're held just like this or preserved just as they are. Looking back, we see that they never could have been, because they were never what we thought. Hollow discussions are discussions that ignore what Dogen calls the true mark of all things. They set aside what we understand about impermanence. They put aside what we understand about suffering. They put aside what we understand about how things come together and how things are joined, in order to tell a story that is simpler and more exciting. One where the stakes are higher and everything means something right now. This is what we're asked to engage in all day, in every direction, whether it's looking at the news, whether it's talking with the neighbor, looking at social media. Don't look through those other eyes. The ones that see a much bigger picture. The ones that have seen things play out. Put those aside for a minute, because this one is the exception. This is the one that matters now. This is the story that matters as a story. You should get sucked into this. And we all do it. But with time and with maturity, sometimes through some sort of process of wisdom and sometimes through exhaustion, we lose some of our ability to get so wrapped up. We lose some of our ability to get so hooked. And whether it's for sustained moments or for just flashes, we see things not for what they are, not for what they mean, sorry, but for what they are. This is my understanding of what it is not to engage in hollow discussions. And I'll stop there.